Good morning, and welcome to the Columbus Chamber's Smart Edge webinar series. Today's topic is Let Your Culture Inspire Your Brand. My name is Summers Martin, and I am the Director of Business Development Services with the Columbus Chamber. The mission of the Chamber is to help businesses thrive. We do that through a number of ways. We do that by providing you the right resources, the right services. We try to make the right connections and certainly provide you the right information. Our webinar series provides business-critical, easy-access educational opportunities for members of the Columbus Chamber. These sessions are hosted monthly and are focused on small business topics that you provide to us. They are presented by our Chamber members and Chamber staff, and we are excited that you are here with us today. I'd like to thank our signature partners. They include Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, CareWorks Consultants Incorporated, and Integris Energy Services. Today's webinar is going to be led by Sandy Fichetti, who founded Fichetti & Company, a marketing communications firm. It is an enterprise that specializes in business-to-business marketing for privately held companies. Sandy is dedicated to directing the planning and implementation of high-stakes communications programs for marketing works, of whom she has formed an LLC in early 2008. As developer and sole owner of Companies Are People Too, a proprietary online assessment instrument that profiles the personality of an organization, Sandy can create an accurate, strategic plan based on a company's true personality and needs. She is a behind-the-scenes advocate and counselor to a number of minority entrepreneurs in and beyond Central Ohio. Sandy's awards include the 2002 National Association of Women Business Owners Visionary Award and finalist in the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. She is a charter member of Women's Presidents Organization and serves on the board for the Columbus Entrepreneurs Organization. Joining Sandy today will also be Jim Smith, who is the president of Elford Construction. I will ask that if you all have any questions, please remember to use the chat function located on the left side of your computer screen. With no further ado, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Sandy. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Summer. Thank you for having me. We're really excited about so many of you joining us today, and I get to speak about one of my favorite topics, which is, I call it inside-out marketing, and it's based on letting your culture be your guide. The culture-inspired brand is basically one that, what we'll talk about today is understanding the essence of your company and what makes it tick, and understanding why amazing customer service is a direct consequence of corporate culture. I'm going to give examples of companies today who have put their employees first, believing that in so doing, happy employees will create happy customers, which will in turn create more profits. So we'll try to learn today how you can define, live, and breathe your culture every day in every way. And again, I will be showing you examples of companies who are doing that and some fun ways that you might be able to do it as well. So what I'd like for everybody to do, and I can't see if you're doing it, but please indulge me, and hopefully you have a writing instrument near you and a piece of paper. And I'd like for you to please sign your name with your right hand. Or your right hand, I should say your preferred hand. In case you're left-handed, you can do that. And then right next to that, if you would switch hands and put your pen in the other hand, which would be your non-preferred hand, and sign your name underneath or next to your first signature. usually when I'm doing this in workshops, I hear lots of groans and moans and, oh, I can't do that, and this is terrible, so I'll just have to pretend that that's what I'm hearing out there. So the reason that I asked you to do this is because I believe and have proven through much of the research that I've done as a result of my book that companies have personalities, that they have preferred ways in which each one gets their energy, where they focus, how they make decisions, how they take in information, and how they get things done. And these are the same 4 dimensions of an individual's personality. All of us were born with personality preferences. Some of you may have taken the Myers-Briggs type indicator before, and the entire Companies Are People Too is based on those preferences of personality type. But what we've done is we've put them into an organizational context. And so once you know what your company is, who it is, then it becomes much easier to make decisions based on the values and preferences of the company. So my premise when I do workshops with companies is each one of us have our own way of being, and many of us at some point in our life, usually in our teen years, have tried to fake it a little bit, and most of the time we don't make it, trying to be somebody that we're not. So I'm 100% believer in understanding what our strengths are and understanding how we are wired and then accepting each other. And then when that comes to culture and working in an organization, we're all happy if we can be who we are. As long as we base our decisions on the preferences and values of the company, then the company will prosper. So using that as a guide, I created an organizational assessment based on the Myers-Briggs for individuals, but I did it for companies. And I did this in like 2003, and Fast Company magazine got a hold of it somehow. And as a result of that, I was given the opportunity to write a book, which is something I had never thought about and didn't know anything about. But 2 years later, it came out, and so Companies Are People Too was born. Basically, Companies Are People Too is about turning your brand, your typical understanding of branding, inside out. So your brand is alive, and it's alive basically in how each and every one of you are behaving. So the living brand, it doesn't matter what size company you are, whether you're startup, mid-size, big corporation, or gargantuan conglomerate, it's worth every single hour you spend and every single dime you can invest to ensure that there's synergy between your company's mission and core values and your external brand promise and brand position. So what exactly is that synergy like? Basically, it means that what you truly believe is the crucial heart of why you're in business in the first place, and how you live that belief inside your business, and then accurately reflecting that in the brand position that you convey outside of your business. So it's what you believe and how you behave inside, and then that's reflected in the branding that you do outside. So we've come up with 5 keys to brand synergy, and I'll go through each one of those in this presentation, and then we'll recap at the end. So number 1 is to be true to yourself. That's basically knowing who you are as a company. Number 2, know what matters most. What is it that you really believe in? What is your purpose beyond making money? Why do you exist as an organization? What are your values? Then number 3 is to put those words in action. It's been said that the most important thing we can say is what we don't say. And we've all heard the phrase that actions speak louder than words. I've seen many companies that have mission statements up on the wall when you walk in their lobby. We can think of all of us probably organizations that we've been consumers of who have said one thing and done completely another. So putting those words in action. Number 3 is probably the crux of success or failure in being authentic. And then number 4, this is the branding part. This is how you show up. This is the outfit you wear. You show up also in decisions that you make. And then the last one is, I call it mirror, mirror on the wall. So we can do 1 through 4, but we need to make sure that we stay the course, we do our checkup, and we look at continuous change. Some things never change, and those are our mission statement, our core values. You can go to the next slide. Our mission, our vision, and our values really never change. There we go. So again, I've given just our Rocky Balboa moment. If we can pull this off, we'd be standing at the top of the Philadelphia Art Museum, I think is where he was, jumping up and down because our missions, our vision, and our values match up with what we're promising and what we're saying and what we're looking like. So the internal brand, I'll just give you a bit of a background. Your internal brand, which are those first 3 items, include your mission statement, and everybody should have one of these. It doesn't have to be a paragraph long. In fact, I like them to be no more than a sentence long. Your core values, they have to be understood by everyone who works in your company, and they have to be written down. Trust me on this one, the core values are not values unless 99% of the people are doing them 99% of the time. Then your passion statement, which a lot of companies have their mission statements and core values, but not everyone has a passion statement. And it's a simple sentence that begins with, we are most passionate about enriching lives. We are most passionate about helping companies succeed. When you and your whole team can fill in the blank of what you're really genuinely passionate about, what you really care about, then you're onto something. It's kind of like, if I use an example of NASA back in the early days, when asked what NASA is all about, everybody who worked there understood one thing and one thing only, and that was, we are going to put a man on the moon. So when you have a big, hairy goal like that and a wonderful passion statement, everybody is aspiring to the same thing. So when we look at your brand externally, your mission and passion and values are most commonly reflected in 3 ways as well. First is the promises that you make to your customers through your communications. Another way is your tagline, if you have one. And then lastly is your brand logo and everything that the logo embodies, which can be in your advertising, in your signage, and basically in the clothes that you wear. So internal and external synergy doesn't necessarily mean that your mission statement is the same as your tagline, but you need to be able to see and understand the relationship between the two. And so do all of your employees and your customer. Because here's the thing, when who you are and what you do really is a passion, and you've successfully conveyed that both internally to your own staff and externally to your consumers, it's the Rocky Balboa moment. And we all know what that is. So let's go to the first step in establishing that synergy. So it's be true to who you are. This is where the companies are people to instrument comes in. When I was working on the first idea of companies are people too, it was about the same time that Jim Collins wrote his first book called Built to Last. And it's a fascinating book because it covered organizations, it's research-based, which I love, and it looked at organizations who were in similar industries where some succeeded for the long term and others had not. And he really did a lot of searching into what it was that the successful companies had that the others didn't. And that's where we came out with core value. We called it core ideology, which is your mission and your purpose combined, and then your core values. It's a very, very good book, and I would recommend highly that if you're trying to come up with what your own company's mission, vision, and values are, there's some excellent examples in that book. So when I read the book, it made it very clear to me that this is a crucial part of having a successful company, but it really didn't help me understand how to get it. So here comes Companies Are People Too, and it's 84 questions. You can answer with a multiple choice, A or B, and it gives us a report that I call a launching pad. It helps us understand who we are, and that includes our strengths, our weaknesses, what our possible core values would be, who our ideal customers are. I believe that all of you received a link that would enable you to go online and take the profile. I'll show that at the end of the presentation as well, but it's a very good exercise for you to go through, and so that's where Companies Are People Too is based. So discover what your strengths are, talk to your customers, talk to your employees, make sure that those strengths are experience-based, which means, really? I say that because I would talk a lot to CEOs who would tell me what the strengths of the companies were. And when I would go into their manufacturing facilities or out into the field to talk to their employees, they were not that at all. So we all value more our experiences. And so I would encourage you that if once you do the exercise, that you validate it by experiences. So we should be able to say, if in fact we are all about caring about our employees, then we should be able to list 20 things that prove that we care about our employees, that we are doing now. So those are just some really pretty common sense steps. I'd like to show a brief video. I'm not going to turn it on just yet because I want this. Dix & Schwabel is an agency, advertising agency in Rochester, New York, and they were one of the first companies to do Companies Are People Too. They had about 8 employees, and when they got their profile report, they would go, "Oh my God, we don't like this." And basically, it was who they were because they operated very quickly. You could give them something and they would get it done. They were extremely organized, but they had one half of the company controlling its culture, and that was the people who were the doers. And meanwhile, they had the creators on the other side of the company who were being overworked, underappreciated, and were miserable. They were being forced to write with their non-preferred hand, if you will. So completely unproductive and dysfunctional team. So to their credit, they realized that, and they said, you know what, we don't want to be like this. We don't want to be the drive-through agency. So they set about making some changes, and when I went back the next year, they took it again, they took the profile again, and it came out much differently. What you see here is in their office, and it's a slide that comes from the second floor down to the first floor. They completely embraced what their culture is, and now that their company is called, in my book, it's a company that it's fun to do good work, and this company has loads of fun. They also now have, I just came back from doing this with them again, they have 125 people. They have been awarded the best small company to work for in America 2 years ago, 3rd place last year, and they're up for it again this year. So this is truly an organization who found out, who did step number 1, discovered who they are, and put it into action. And now it doesn't matter if they hire somebody new, or we have a person who's been there 10 years who takes the Companies Are People Too assessment. The consistency that people in this company are experiencing is phenomenal, and it's what we all strive for. So I'm going to just show a snippet of the video that they did recently, and for their great places to work. And you'll sort of get it. They talk about their values in this video.
At Dixon Schwabel, you can just be yourself. They really encourage your individual sense of style, and they welcome it.
The ability to take the ball and run with it if we want to.
Having my birthday off is a holiday. No explanation needed.
Profit sharing. In today's day and age, this is almost unheard of.
I truly value our open door policy. At any point in time, we can always walk into management's office and sit down and ask a question or just chat.
Our commitment to trying new things and never being satisfied with the status quo.
I feel a great sense of pride when we're out in the community and people often ask me, what's it like to work at Dixon Schwabel? I put a big smile on my face and I'm happy to tell them all about the great things that Laura might do, not only for the employees here, but for the community as well.
One of the best parts of the week here at Dixon Schwabel is our weekly meeting, and everyone gets together. Lauren and Mike will share a letter from a client or a letter from somebody in the community, and we go around the room and we hear bits and pieces of information from many people on the team. The nice thing is you get to learn something about each of your teammates.
The welcoming atmosphere and the friendly environment. It sounds small, but it's not, and it's actually quite rare.
You feel both the culture and the environment the minute you walk in the door, and you can't help but to feel happy.
Here at Dixon Schwabel, everyone's opinion is valued.
Flexibility and respect are two values that I really experienced firsthand working here. When I started, I still had a year left of school to finish my bachelor's degree, so I worked full-time and then I went to school at night. It's really nice to work for a company that's so flexible in understanding your schedule, and that was understood by all of my team members. I was really surprised when I was awarded the Jazz Genie Award. It was really nice that my team members nominated me for that, and again, I felt very respected that everything that I did while I was in school, they really took notice of.
We really do have a caring environment here. Whenever anyone experiences an illness.
So that gives you an idea. Hopefully you feel as good as I do just watching that. Those are unscripted answers to the question about what do you value most about working at Dixon Schwabel. And I mean, they do things like they live their values. One of their core values is fun. They have bowling on Monday. They have their own band. They do softball on Wednesday. Every Thursday, ice cream comes in a truck out to even in the winter, out to the parking lot. And then they have parties on Fourth Fridays. They give back to their community. They're just a phenomenal leader in Rochester, and it's been really fun to watch them. So we're going to look at now a few other examples of companies who are really effectively doing step number one. And we all hear about Southwest, and most of us have probably experienced Southwest, and we just can't talk enough about a company whose reason for being in business is love. That is not only the reason for being in business, but it permeates everything that they do. I mean, how many of us would really build our business around the word love? It sounds really hokey, but as all of us who know travel Southwest, they make us feel great each and every time. Every employee lives and breathes love, and it's reflected in the service that each customer experiences. So the Southwest way is something that we should all aspire to, and I think many of us have. There's a really good article that I found that was what you can learn from Southwest Airlines culture. And we're going to see this in one of the local companies that we look at, but it consistently creates a positive customer experience. So that goes back to what we were talking about with inside-out marketing. If you're solid about who you are, why you exist, and how you make your decisions, how you behave, that is going to show to the people that you are serving. So, and very interestingly, now with social media, culture is amplified. I mean, I can't think of a better word than that. So if we are really good at what we do, we hear it, and if we're really bad at what we do, we'll hear it. I had my intern help me with this presentation, and he was so down on Delta Airlines. And we were looking at, so what are examples of companies who do it well and companies who don't? And he was very articulate in how he described his experiences with Delta and looking at their website and looking how they present themselves. And really the experience that you have is very different than that, and everybody knows it because people aren't afraid to go on Twitter or Yelp or any of the other hundreds of sites where complaints can be lodged. So even social media makes it even more important. And then the last one is having a strong culture means that your organization can change. Doesn't mean you have to be the same all the time because companies do change. They change leaders. Economic circumstances force companies to make some changes. But that strong culture, what you have at the heart and soul of your company in terms of I will always make decisions based on these values will guide your company through any change. So let's go on to look at number 2. So first one was know who you are, and then the second one is know what matters most. Why you exist. This is the core ideology, mission, vision, and values. This is straight out of Built to Last. What do you aspire to be? What did your founders envision? What's your purpose beyond making money? We sort of talked about that. So let's look at a company that we, again, probably have experienced and who's really done a great job at defining their culture and their internal brand. And their mission or vision is real simple. Like I said, it's not even a sentence, powered by service. So, and that's exactly what they say, and that's exactly what you get. So if you go to the next slide, we'll see what their core values are. Zappos is in Las Vegas, and they have opened their doors to anyone who wants to go in there and experience their culture. They're now giving workshops on culture, how they've done it. This is what they did. They came up first with these core values, and then they live each and every one of them each and every day. So they deliver wow through their service. They embrace and drive change. They create fun and a little weirdness. Adventurous, creative, and open-minded, growth and learning. So they've got more core values than most companies, but they find ways that they live them. And one of them, which is really neat, a great idea, is a culture book. And they give their culture book out. You can go on Amazon and you get this, I think it looks like it's $15 or something, but if you go straight to Zappos, they will send you their culture book. And they do it every single year. It's actually a big, hardbound, 300-page book that includes, what they do is they ask their employees to give an experience that they've had that lives one of these values. And it's fun, and it shows pictures of the things that they do. And I would strongly recommend that you go to Zappos.com and order yourself a culture book. It's very, very inspiring. So Tony Hsieh talk about the change. He didn't found Zappos, but he is definitely the leader of it, and he has written books. He is an amazing person. Everybody knows Tony Hsieh. You'll be able to see him speak if you go to the Zappos site. But what I want to say here is that with Tony, the purchase by Amazon, when Amazon bought Zappos, there's a pretty major change, but it has not affected Zappos' culture. So Tony he's my hero. He believes what I believe. Your culture is your brand. Okay, so let's see what we've got next. Number 3. This is putting the words into action. I always tell companies when they come up with their core values, you've heard me say this before, that it's really not a value unless 99% of the people are doing it 99% of the time. So we really need to make sure that these are not things we want to be, these are things that we are. And then we want to continually reinforce our commitment to culture. A lot of companies do this really well. There's an example next of how, I believe it's Whole Foods, does this, how they make their values visual. So we'll flip to that real quick video and then come back to the slide.
Satisfying and delighting customers means creating inviting store environments and community meeting places.
So that's just one way that you can put your values into action, make it visual. Dixon Schwabel has what they call a keeper of the culture. And so every month there's a team who's given a budget and they are able to come up with an activity that reinforces a value that Dixon Schwabel holds dear. And it might be something that they come up with like bringing in a masseuse, a chair masseuse, you know, and allowing everybody to just have a few moments of relaxation. But if they call it the keeper of the culture, and again, that's a monthly team. Ritz-Carlton has laminated accordion fold cards that every employee carries with them during work hours. I don't suppose they carry it around when they're going out at night. But anyway, it's a reminder that you can have all those things on a card. A lot of times people put it on the back of their business cards. Zappos has one of its core values on every box it ships out. So that's one way that they are reinforcing it, putting the words into action. Federal Express has safety as one of their core values. And you see that with the orange shoulder belts that they, seat belts that they have in their vans. From 25 yards away, anybody can see that the driver is wearing that safety belt. And I also really am a big believer that the values have to be the focus of your orientation. We have a local company, Cameron Mitchell Restaurants, who's another really great example to study. They have done a phenomenal job. Cameron really believes that great people giving great service creates great customers. So he focuses everything on his people. And he has a little pamphlet that he hands out that has their credo, their mission, their values, what they stand for. And he's come up with something called the milkshake story. And it reinforces one of their key cultural beliefs, which is the answer is yes, what's the question? And I have a video, again, it's an 11-minute long video, so I'm just going to give you just a real quick look at it. But you can see it at CameronMitchellRestaurants.com, or if you just Google Cameron Mitchell milkshake story. I'll go ahead and tell you the story before I put the video on because the story is late in the video. But it's basically Cameron and his son were at a restaurant, and his son wanted a chocolate milkshake. And the waiter said they don't have chocolate milkshakes. And Cameron looked at him a little incredulously and it went up to the manager, who also didn't have chocolate milkshakes. And Cameron finally, well, do you have milk or ice cream? Yes. Do you have chocolate? Yes. Do you have a blender? Yes. Well, I can make my own damn chocolate milkshake. But, you know, he just said, I never want anybody to be treated like that in my restaurants again. So he called it the milkshake story. He lives it with the answer is yes, what's the question. But they have milkshake awards. You know, when they have their annual company meeting, they give out milkshake awards to the person who has most embodied the values of the organization. Dixon Schwabel also does that, and you'll see later that Alfred does that as well. So let's take a real quick look at Cameron and how he's described what it is that their company, who it is that their company is.
Beth 304. We got smile. There's a lot of people working all over the place, but we only want the happy ones there.
Happy people make great food. Unhappy people make lousy food.
Work hard, play hard, and be continued in a moment.
Minute of the video, they got pretty much what that company stands for and how it lives out. But again, I encourage you to go online. The entire restaurant industry studies what Cameron has done with his culture. So there are lots of blog posts and articles written about it. So let's go to number 4. And there's my mirror, mirror on the wall. Couldn't resist the baby. I thought that was way more cute because we want to end up when we look in the mirror loving ourselves, right? Not looking at this ugly person staring back at us. So, I mean, that's, again, you're showing up with consistency, making sure that your external brand or the face of the company mirrors the internal brand or the heart of the company. And Whole Foods, I have another example here of how they live their values. They have a lot of values as well. Their values include obviously satisfying and delighting customers, supporting team member happiness and excellence. I won't really tell you what it is. I think I'll just let this guy tell you what it is. This is a video from one of their employee meetings.
All right, this is the core values rap. So listen up. I got all 4 values included. Yeah, good. We got Whole Foods, we sell the best. Products available, that's our best. We got the goods, the service is good, and the time that's good and the good. And you gotta try, take your time, core value to the satisfying and the right, you can buy the time. We're still with me, just happiness and excellence is CV3. We're making big bucks and profit and growth. When you come in our store, you can recognize both. The money you get, but we really need, because we care about our earth and communities. We're building lives with the food suppliers. It's a win, y'all, I'm truly inspired. And last but not least, we promote the health of our stakeholders, but I got nothing else.
Again, if you Google that, there are words that show up on the rap song on YouTube. So that makes it a little bit easier for us to understand what he's talking about. But you can see and you can feel the excitement and the importance and how everybody who works at Whole Foods is embracing their values. And their co-CEO says it really well. And I love that he uses my words from the inside out, but following his 4 principles, it's how we act, it informs how we grow, it informs how we make decisions, and sorry about that. Anyway, you can see what it says. I have my phone on silent, but I hope all of you didn't hear that buzzing. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. I want to get to Alfred's example. So the last one we're talking about, assess and reassess, empower and reward your staff for living the values, check your pulse, get an annual checkup, look in the mirror. So it's just what I want to emphasize here is your culture, your internal brand really should never change. And we have lots of examples also with Starbucks, but I'm not going to go into those because I would rather let Jim Smith talk about how he has effectively, or how Elford has effectively identified and lived their core values. And this has been through, what, 3 CEOs, I think?
3,
yeah.
Correct.
So Jim, he's current president, CEO of Elford.
Well, thank you, Sandy, for having me here. It's an honor. For those listening today, we first worked with Sandy 17 years ago. Can you believe that?
No.
17 years ago. And we were a young organization back then. We were founded in 1910, but we were going through a lot of transformations, and we work in a very complex industry, in the construction industry, and we're involved in some very difficult markets in healthcare, retail, research and development, government buildings, school buildings, pharmaceuticals, and we're typically working on campuses that the facility is already operating. So as we were looking at our growth, because back then we were maybe a $40 million a year company, and now we average in excess of $150 to $200 million a year, we knew we were going to grow. We were going to grow in these difficult markets, and we're going to have more of our own stakeholders out there at risk every single day, and giving them the empowerment to do the right things each and every day and how to do the right things. So as we looked at that, Sandy came in and helped us with, who are we, why are we here? At the time, we'd been in business 85 years, but still, as Sandy mentioned, as companies go through the revolution, you have to continually look at, your business model and why you're in business, but the reason you're in business and the purpose. And I might jump to the next slide here, if I could. Talks about how do you keep the founding principles alive. And what are those founding principles? And sometimes you got to discover those. And we discovered Pop Elford founded our company in 1910 because he was dissatisfied with the organization that he was working with. He was a civil engineer, as a bridge builder, and the company that he was first aligned with, he didn't agree with the principles on quality especially. So he said, I want my beliefs to be felt by the customer directly. So I'm going to step out and employ those myself and deliver that service at the highest level possible. So today, one of the things we do, Sandy mentioned the awards and all, we keep Pop alive. And Pop to us is the internal brand, back to doing the right things. There's been a handful of customers who get that and enjoy that story, but it truly is, to be professional like Pop is the internal brand. And that we recognize that it can be in accounting, it can be estimating, marketing, production, service, the carpenters, laborers, it doesn't matter. But every year we have the Pop Elford Award, and it exemplifies a person that's nominated from within the company of how they exemplify the professionalism that Pop started this company with. So in addition to that, the next slide, we said, well, who is Pop? Well, none of us knew Pop, but we decided let's create our profile of who we are and who we might represent. So we had a fun exercise here of introducing Pop, and we can see our dog's name is Dammit, and it was just a fun term we came up with. We looked down through some of those personality traits, and one I'm most proud of is the prized possession, which has reputation. We talk about reputation internally to our internal customers every day. We're establishing what our reputation is, and that follows suit with our core values, which I'll get to here in a minute, because to really have, as we talk in your book, companies are people too. People have to realize why they're working for an organization and who they are. So what we spend a lot of time and effort on is finding the champions of each of our core values or of our mission statement or of our core purpose, and identifying certain steps they've taken, certain achievements they've had, and how they exemplify those words. Because those words have to be more than posters on the wall, the first page in your proposal, the first page in your storybook. So, well, why don't we move to that slide? Because I kind of gave an overview early on, and then I'll slip to our vision and mission. 5 minutes? Okay. Our vision to be professionally Pop, again, that's an internal vision that drives the organization internally. Outside the organization, it's our mission to be more than just the best building contractor. and that's based on the experience the customer will have with us and has had with us. And then as that translates into the core purpose, so why do we come in every day to unlock the door, open the job trailer, or whatever the case may be, is our job is to make that experience a positive one for the customers. So we frame that around, it's not about us, it's about our customers, internally and externally. So we have 5 posted core values, and there's behaviors under each one of those. I'll start with the trustworthy, and I'll go pretty fast with these because we're closing up here, but these do change, the behaviors can change as your company evolves or different areas of work evolve. But the important thing is here is we all are in the service business of some sort, and you have so many stakeholders out there, is helping them with a foundation of how to behave and how to empower them with the internal heartbeat of the organization. So being trustworthy gets back to that prized possession of your reputation. And the first one there, doing the right things at the right times for the right reasons. That's paramount in our organization. Keeping promises. With our goal is to have every customer be a repeat customer. We're going to tell you the truth everywhere, every step along the way. And sometimes it's not always good news. We have to explain it, bring a solution to the table, put ourselves in your shoes. Accept responsibility every day, and take leadership. When customers are looking for a service organization, they want them to be leaders, not just followers. Next, building lasting relationships, which is paramount to the success of us being 102 years old, is we're focused on the relationship of the business with our customers, because they hire us expecting that the work will get installed, but it's how do we give them the experience and build that relationship that lasts forever and ever. And when our best compliment is when we become friends with our customers, which happens quite often. And a couple examples is we're spending their money as if it was our own, and we're watching that out as a business, a fellow business person, and we're making recommendations on how to change their business. They might have not looked at it a way we can bring in a perspective from the outside. So you build that reputation, you can offer good peer comments back and forth.
Can I interrupt for a minute?
Sure can.
The one thing that I want to make sure that we all appreciate about what Jim is doing is these values and mission and purpose, they were articulated a long time ago. But again, he has, and the company has made sure that they're not just words. So what you see in these bullets are behaviors that go with every single core value. And that is the takeaway from what Jim's slides are all about, so that they teach people what it means to build lasting relationships, what it looks like, what it means and looks like to be trustworthy. And that's what I love about these slides that he's going through. And all of us who do our core values need to say, what does that look like?
Thank you, Brandon. We start this conversation when we're doing interviews with prospective employees, or when we have interns. We do a lot of internships, and when they're here in their internship, they have to understand, the demands we have on them. We want them to be at the highest level. If they're going to work in our organization, we're going to hire them more than just for their technical competencies. It's for them as a person, because we are a person. We are a person as a whole. We communicate it all the way, every year. I have a town hall meeting tonight. We do this quarterly. And the first slide you'll see is that vision and core value slide. And I talk about it. I have quarterly breakfasts with 10 different employees every quarter. That's talked about. It's talked about in our departmental meetings. But again, it gets back to the behaviors we want everybody to exemplify. And we're constantly learning. The build community, we do a lot of giving back to the community. We're very blessed to be here. And where we've gotten to today versus that just being driven by senior management in the early days, now it's driven by the employees who are given opportunities as projects through our mentoring program and our young professional leadership program. They're now responsible to drive a lot of the community building efforts. We keep learning. I mean that's why we're here. We're here to improve and learn each and every day of how we can better provide our services. one of the things that we encourage, even during the recession the last 4 or 5 years when a lot of overhead things were cut, when we made trimming in ours, we didn't lose anything on the furthering our education. We did it a little differently. We used a lot more of an internal talent, but we continually inspire the spirit of we can't rest on our laurels today. We can't rest on our talent today. We got to keep improving. And it's just the environment. We pass on the reading. You see the reading there continually during our employee reviews twice a year. We talk about books to read, and we read a lot more than just technical books. It's not just leadership. It's fun books too. It's bringing back the fun of reading. And of course, the last core value to talk a little about here is work hard and work smart. This first bullet wasn't on our slideshow 8 years ago or 17 years ago, but it's one little word that we've come to appreciate in the word preparation that I truly believe separates good companies from great companies. And we're tenacious about preparation regardless of what it's for, whether it's for a meeting, a presentation, schedule, an estimate. Nothing less than 100% is acceptable there. So we truly believe that spirit of preparation will build a sustainable company back to the built to last philosophy, which is transitioned into our company, Good to Great. And we talk about those books a lot, Sandy. We do book reviews at the senior management level, chapter by chapter. Not trying to do the whole book in a session, but these changes and this spirit of the culture, it didn't happen overnight. And when Sandy first met us, 17 years ago, it took some time. It takes time to get the message through an organization. The senior leadership team really has to dedicate themselves to talking about it and explaining it, because it can look a little Greek at times. And you've got, through the examples, you got to make it come to life. And you, as sitting in the leadership chair who's responsible for delivering the message, have to demonstrate it, because you have to realize, the thing they hear from me is, we're on stage 7/24, 365, however you act and talk and your tone or your lack of, people are looking for that, and you are your culture. And as we saw with Southwest and Zappos and Cameron Mitchell's, those are fascinating companies, wonderful. So that's kind of our story in a nutshell.
Yeah, it is a nutshell, because it has been a long time in making, and they, like Dixon Schwabel, are a real success story about an organization who has defined, articulated, and lived their values. So we're going to skip on ahead to, I think, till the end. The 5 keys there we've gone over. I've got a couple slides in here that show some negative social media that's happening because an employee or employees are not being consistent with the values. We've all seen these, but this was the Delta example. So you can flip through theirs, and then the next slide is about just, I'm moving fast here because I want to be able to let people ask some questions, but obviously stronger together when your internal brand is influencing your external brand. So some reminders: articulate your purpose and values, live your purpose and values. If there's no other takeaway, that should be it. Happy employees equals satisfied customers equals profit and wealth, as Whole Foods says. Actions speak louder than words. Be authentic. You can't fake it till you make it. You won't make it. Don't make promises you can't keep. Make sure that your brand promises are promises that you can deliver. Make sure your values are things that you're doing every day. And then do a daily checkup. So the village takes a village to build a brand. Everybody needs to be in it together. It's an ongoing evolutionary process. As Jim said, people come and go. So it's very, very important that everyone who walks in our doors understands what we're all about and delivers that message to everybody they come in contact with. So on the last slide, some contact information, and go to companiesarepeople2.com/chamber if you would like to take the assessment for your company and see what the report tells you about your experiences with the company. If you'd like to have even more people in your company take it, and you can always contact me at that phone number or email address.
Sandy, Jim, thank you both so much for joining us today. I can say that I have personal experience with both of your companies. I've known Brenda for a number of years. I find her to be very thoughtful, extremely smart, greatly talented, and enjoy the relationship that the Chamber certainly has with her. And Jim, I will tell you, I came out probably last summer and met with some of your team, and they referred to you often. And what I got from listening to them was that, that leadership definitely starts at the top. If you really want people to embrace a new culture and you want to be part of the corporate family, that has to be led from someone at the top. And I really enjoyed being out there. And actually, our meeting was supposed to be an hour. I think we ended up talking for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I didn't want to leave. So I do want to thank you both. We are running out of time, and I want to be respectful to those of you that joined us today. So if there's a question out there, please type that question into the chat box. And while we're waiting for that, I will tell you about our next webinar. It's going to be Full Circle Interactive Marketing, Website, Social, Search, Email, and Ads. It will be conducted on Tuesday, July 10th, and it will be presented by Chris Shire, who is the CEO and President of Madison and Fifth. You can certainly go on our website at columbus.org/events and sign up for that webinar. Also, please join us on September 27th for our annual clam bake. If you have yet to attend this event, this is the one event that you really should not miss this year. It's a great party that we'll have at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. Again, you can register at columbus.org/events. Looks like we have a comment. Great webinar. First one that I've sat through in a long time that was really worth the time. I learned a lot. Thank you for your time, and thanks to the Chamber for hosting this. Thank you, Ariana. We really love to hear that we are providing something that is of value to our members. Question for our panelists: how do you merge different cultures within the company?
Well, if you're talking about different cultures within different departments within the company, that's one thing. If you're talking about different cultures that are a result from a merger or acquisition, that's another. So the way I would start is obviously knowing what those cultures are. So, either with interviews or do the companies or people too for a quick understanding of how people are experiencing each department and each company, and that will let us know where we have things in common and where we don't. But overall, again, if you have the primary business, which if they're departments, then if that company, let's just say it was Alfred's estimating department was different than the project management department. It wouldn't matter because all of them are making their decisions based on the values and preferences of Alfred. So that's where the strength is, that it has to start there. Otherwise, there's not a lot you can do. You're going to have fiefdom. Hope that helps.
Thank you all again for participating today. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at 225-6919. Thank you and have a great day.